Welcome to Let's Get Metaphysical, the show that stretches you beyond your five senses. When you are looking for your next step on the path into the unseen, we've got you covered. Join epic adventure seekers and level up your game with your host, reality magician Bierman.
Greetings, epic adventure seekers. Welcome to your guide to demystifying your world. I'm Bierman, and you're listening to Let's Get Metaphysical, Connect Heart and Mind. I'm on the edge of my seat with excitement over today's guest, Missy McCall, a survivor extraordinaire and expert astrologer. First, I have a question for you. Have you ever felt like life just happens to you? If that's you, I made a gift for you. Step in a new direction. In this quick read, you'll begin to discover your power and control every day in your life. The link to download your copy is in the show notes. And now let me introduce today's guest, someone who left me with my jaw hanging down to the floor and deeply touched my heart and mind, my friend and contemporary philosopher, in my humble opinion, Missy McCall. Missy came to this lifetime in October 1982. At the age of 12, she survived a traumatic, life-altering event. While on vacation with her family, she fell out of a third-story window. She crossed over to the other side, then came back. And when she woke up in the hospital, Missy discovered she was paralyzed and was told she'd never walk again. Today, Missy walks. Welcome to the show, Missy.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm just thrilled to jump in there. I'll tell you, I am raring to get into the details of what you briefly shared in your bio. How did you happen to fall out of a third-story window?
Well, I was in San Diego, California, and I was staying in a condo, and there was a chair, like a rocking chair that was against the window. And I went to the window to try to find my dad because he was at the beach, because you could see the beach from the condo. And I was leaning with both my hands on the screen, kind of like, so my knees were facing towards like the back of the chair. And then my hands were like touching the screen. And with my weight and the rocking chair's weight, like it pushed the screen out. I fell 3 stories, and then there was a black metal bar fence like at the bottom, and I broke my back. It like stopped my fall, and then I landed on my head. So I have like kind of a gash in the back of my head. So my head was bleeding, my eyes were bleeding, my ears were bleeding, and I was paralyzed, and I was life flighted to Children's Hospital in San Diego.
As a parent, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
You were just 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
What went through your mind when you woke up and heard the medical pronouncement? I mean, a doctor telling you you're paralyzed and you're never going to walk again.
Right.
So how did you take charge of your thoughts and convince yourself the doctor's not right?
Right. So like, okay, so here's the crazy thing. Like when I woke up, I didn't know where I was. Because I literally experienced crossing the other side. Like I saw the white light and I heard the angel's wings, and, someone put their hand on my head and said, you have to go back. And so when I woke up, it was like from a dream, and I felt like I like entered another dream. Like if you've ever been in those crazy dreams where you're like, is this another dream I'm entering to? Like that's what it felt like. And so when I woke up, feeling like I'm waking up in another dream, like I pulled like all the IVs out of me. I had this tube that went all the way to my heart. I pulled that out. I tried to get up, and the doctors came rushing in. I still remember like the doctors rushing in, but this is the crazy thing, Allie, is there was this huge fat doctor, and I thought she was fat, but she covered the whole entire door frame, like the whole entire door frame. She was huge. And I said to her, because she was there, I thought she rushed in. I said, the ducks did it, because I felt so like I didn't know where I was. And come to find out later, there was no big, huge, fat doctor. They're all tiny, little, small doctors. Like it was an angel on my door, like telling me, like, calm down, calm down. So that was the cool thing, is everyone's like, there's no big, huge, fat doctor. And I was like, no, this doctor's huge, like as tall as the door frame. Like she's huge. And they're like, no, Missy, there's no doctor that's as tall as the door frame. I just feel like I had to come back. I had to come back. I didn't know I was no one really told me I was like, so here's the crazy thing is I knew I couldn't walk, but the doctors never told me I would ever walk again. So this is a crazy thing is they told my parents I would never walk again.
Whoa.
But they never told me. And so I didn't know that. And so what ended up happening, because I had 2 back-to-back 7-hour surgeries. I had a first surgery, which they kind of calmed my body down because I was bleeding all over the place. And then the second surgery was to put bars in my back, that like infused bars, and I have like screws that go all the way down my back. And so the doctors told my parents I'd never walk again. But when I was in the hospital, my foot felt like it was on fire. And so it literally, I took so much morphine. I had this button. I was just constantly like trying to press it, but it'd only give it to me every 15 minutes. And it was like for 2 weeks, my foot was on fire and I would just cry. And my dad would like put ice on my foot. So like I wouldn't feel the heat as much, but it still didn't help because my sensation was coming back to my feet. And the nerves were coming back. And so the doctor walked in when that started happening. And she's like, she might have a chance of walking again if she's starting to be able to feel one foot, you know?
Do you think the fact that they hadn't told you, only your parents, that you wouldn't walk again played a part in that?
Oh, huge. I think if they would have told me I wouldn't walk again, I would be like, what? It's like, I almost felt like, and my dad always told me, he's like, it's just a recovery process. It's just, you're just going to have to recover and everything's going to come back. It was almost like he told, like, you know how when you recover from like getting your tooth pulled or something like that, like he was like, everything's just going to come back. Your body's just going to recover. So I always felt like automatically everything's just going to come back and I'm going back to school. I'll be completely normal. But no, like that wasn't really the case, you know? And I knew I couldn't walk, but I always felt like, because my dad always told me it's just going to come back, you know? Yeah.
That was quite a gift he gave you.
Yeah. Encouragement, like, you know, like you're not going to walk. Like it's just automatically going to come back.
That's really cool. So when did you start walking again?
I went home and what ended up happening was I tried to commit suicide like 3 times because I like hated my life. I was very severely depressed. I was home by myself. There was no computers at the time. Like there was like maybe 13 channels you could watch. And my parents were at work and I was home and I'm like, is this my life? Like, is this all there is to life? You know, and you have to understand, like, I was a star athlete training for the Junior Olympics prior to this. You know, I was like spelling bee champ, straight A student. My parents very much socially conformed me to the way society and groomed me to believe I had to be this person, you know? And so for me to come home and I'm no longer this person, brain doesn't function as well. I can't walk. I don't have any friends. Everything I taught that was normal was no longer my normal, you know? It was like everything changed for me. And so what ended up happening was I was in the hallway one day and I was in my wheelchair and I had the Bible. And I just remember telling God, like, I am so done with my life. Like, I am done. Like, if there is a real God, like, if you are real, angels, if you are real, give me my legs back, you know? And I said, if you give me my legs back when I'm 30 years old, I'll open a battered women's and children's shelter. And so no one was home and there was a hallway. Like I had this small little hallway, this little tiny house. And so I stood up from my wheelchair. I put my hand against the wall like this to like brace me just in case I fell. And I began to walk down the hallway, like bracing myself to the wall. And like I slowly stepped backwards and I sat in my wheelchair and I was like, oh my God, I'm walking, you know? And then from there, it was just like a recovery process. Then from there, I was like a baby learning how to walk again.
The average person doesn't just decide, you know, I'm going to stand up and walk and I know that I'm going to get the help that you believe is going to come to you. That's quite extraordinary. Did you go back to school?
I ended up going back to school when I was on my walker. So that was, you know, I was allowed to go back. My 6th grade year, I wasn't there. My 7th and 8th grade year, I went back. And so you have to understand, Allie, like I was the bully. Like I was like extremely the bully before, like I was the mean girl in school. And so when I went back to school, all of a sudden people are like, who is this girl? Who is she? Who does she think she is? And so I was being bullied, right? And so they'd call me like Sissy Missy. And so every day I would sit in the bathroom stall during lunch and just cry. Why did this happen? Why did you give me my legs back if this is my life? You know what I mean? I was again depressed. Ate lunch by myself in the bathroom stall. Like I lived there in 7th grade. And then 8th grade, things started to change a little bit. That was like my life. You know, it humbled me so much, so much.
That is so extraordinary. I'll tell you, I'm sitting on the edge of my seat, and I definitely want to pursue what happened next. But first, we're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor. So hang in there, Epic Adventure Seekers. We'll be right back. Today's show is sponsored by Metaphysical Ministry International, my home base, where I get to be the minstrel minister. I created a very special offer for you, my Epic Adventure Seeker. You can get the combo package of the ebook and audio of my popular book, What You Don't Know, How Your Brain and Mind Keep You Stuck, for the very special price of just $9.97. That set normally sells for $27. Click the special offer link in the show notes. And we're back. Missy, you've had such a dramatic change in your relationships, in your friendships, and how everything works and how you're seeing things so differently. Tell us what you were feeling, what was happening inside you at this point.
Just really, really hurt me that even going back to high school was kind of hard because I didn't really fit in because I felt so different. I felt so different from everyone. I woke up to the fact that like school doesn't really matter. My brain didn't function as normal either. So I had a hard time studying. I had a hard time learning. I had a hard time taking tests. So I was constantly getting like D's and F's. But I also at a young age knew like school didn't matter and none of this mattered. And the only thing matters is like friendship and health. And like, that's it. And connection with God and the angels. I had a very strong connection back then. Like, and I still do, but it was even stronger because I was like literally having to use them every day to understand this whole new process that I was living in and processing people that had never experienced what I experienced, you know, was also hard because a lot of people, you know, they started waking up later in life, right? Like, especially right now in 2020, people are waking up and I'm like, I woke up when I was 12. Like,
that's unusual.
Yeah, like when I was 12 and like I remember when COVID hit, I would go everywhere with my girls and there would be like nobody like on the road. Like nobody was on the road. And it was just like this fear, this like crazy fear in people. And I'm like, you could die tomorrow. Why are you fearing death? And I just enjoyed life. I remember even going to Tahoe. There was no one at the snow. I was like all by myself with the girls, like enjoying the snow. And I think it was hard for them too, my girls, because they were kind of looking at me like, aren't we supposed to be home? And I'm like, no. Yeah.
Do your girls know your story?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They 100% know my story. Yeah. Walk with I limp. So the thing that didn't come back was my right foot still drops. It's called like a drop foot. Mm-hmm. And so that was like the only thing that didn't come back. But it's kind of funny because when I was going to Catholic school, there's this, I'm not sure, don't quote me on the Bible verse, but there's a section where God wrestles with somebody in the Bible, like over their life. And he leaves them with a limp, you know, and it's kind of funny because a lot of people that have had severe accidents, they're left with limps.
Interesting. I never knew that.
I'll have to find the Bible verse for you, but it's funny. I don't know if it's like Luke or I don't remember.
It's interesting. The work I do as a specialized kinesiologist, I know anything that happens on the left side of your body is coming from a spiritual aspect or something that's causing that. And if it's on the right side of your body, it's a physical cause. So yeah, that would be interesting to see how that ties in.
Right. Well, it's funny because so my left foot is the one that was on fire.
Uh-huh.
and came back. And then my right foot is the drop foot.
That's really fascinating. I mean, I could certainly venture guesses. And if you didn't live in California, I'd love to work on you to get
Yeah.
some answers. But anyway, you do something that I very much believe in, but it was a really long time into my adulthood before I ever believed that astrology was anything other than the stupid little things they put in the newspaper every day.
Right.
How did you get into astrology?
You know, I was at home and I didn't have much to do when I was really young, when I was 12. And so I just kind of started like looking at it and like, what is this? I got books from the bookstore. And it wasn't until like I got older when like other astrologers started talking about it more. So the day that my accident happened, Pluto, which is about death, transformation, and rebirth, right, conjunct my vertex, and the vertex is a gateway to the divine. And so it's almost like heaven and hell like came together on that exact day when my like accident happened.
Wow.
And it only happens like once in a lifetime. And it happened on that day for me when that accident happened. And it was like almost like the vertex is the divine, and Pluto like drags up all this rebirth and transformation, and they were exactly conjunct. And so I just found through astrology who I was, why I was here. I had Chiron, prominent. Chiron's the wounded healer in astrology. It shows you like, so Chiron basically for me, when I think about it, I talk to people, it's almost imagine like a umbilical cord to the divine, and then that's cut from you. Okay. And so you're left with this Chiron wound, and you come down to planet Earth to teach people how to heal that wound you're left with, but it's coming from the divine. But your parents and everyone around you kind of like hurt you with that pain so that you could go through the lessons so you could become the healer on the planet. Okay, if that makes sense. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So think of like, sometimes I think Chiron as like the water for the plant to grow, you know, like you have to go through the pain in order for the rebirth to happen. Right. And so I realized I had so much trauma in my chart that I realized that my first house was my Chiron. So first house is your appearance. So a lot of people that have Chiron in the first house, they have, they walk with limps. They have like some type of disorder that is like on their body, you know? And so for me, I like heal people, say, you are beautiful. Like you don't have to show up and look like the perfect person, you know, like you don't have to walk perfect. You don't have to speak perfect. And so I'm here to teach people that, you know.
It's so interesting what you're saying, because I was just studying something this morning about Chiron and how in ancient Greece, he actually came to represent opportunity, and everything that you're explaining, it so perfectly fits.
Yeah, exactly. And Chiron he has a wound, but he can't heal himself, right? So I have a wound, which is my limp, but it will never be healed, right? But I can heal other people's, the way they feel about themselves, their pain they feel about themselves, but I'll never be able to heal my own limp or whatever that's wrong with my body. Yeah.
I'm in a healer community. People do energy work a little bit different from mine, but still, it's very rare for any of us to be able to heal ourselves.
Exactly. We need each other, like 100%. Like we have to have each other, you know, even like the trees and the earth, it's like, they're all like, you know, they're all interwoven. They have to work together. And that's how we are too. Like we aren't individualized. We live in this population right now. It's about all me, but it's not that way at all. Like our energy and everything is all interwoven together, you know. And it's crazy too when I do chart readings, because I can really see the synastry, and synastry is a chart comparison between two people. I can really see like, oh my God, your sun is exactly on my sun. Like it's just there's so much crazy synastry and like how our energies work together. Yeah.
That's incredible. The way I came to believe in astrology is I had some friends who would go every year to see this nun who would make them a home notebook for the whole year, for every day of the year. And she was also an artist. So on the cover of the notebook, there'd be a painting. One of my friends, we took a sight course together. And the cover of her year-long astrological chart was the book cover, the textbook cover.
Oh,
And when
wow.
I saw that, it was like, oh, there's something here that I want to look into.
Oh, wow. I love that. I love the synchronicity of that. That's amazing.
That was so incredible to me. I just never questioned it again. And then when my daughter was being born, she crowned at 5 minutes to midnight
Yeah.
on a certain day. And she crowned until the next day happened because she wasn't supposed to be born on that day. And when you look at her chart and her signs, absolutely, she was supposed to wait a day. And I've heard that happening for other people. And I have the impression you've witnessed it too.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes when I talk to people, I go over their chart, right? So I ask them like, okay, give me some significant dates, because I use the vertex as kind of my tipping point, because it changes like every minute to really know when someone's born. So because the vertex brings things into your life from the divine, so it's constantly bringing people, it's bringing events, it's bringing things. So I asked, like, give me a big event and that happened in your life, a couple of them, and I'll figure out what time you're born and like the day.
That's just so cool. And it makes total sense to me, given that everything is energy. And as you were saying, it's not just us, but it's the whole cosmos.
Oh, yeah. And, people be going through things, but it's like everyone's going through that. So I do my daily updates and stuff like that. It's literally everyone's going through it. Oh my God, why is energy so crazy? And because today Venus conjunct Uranus, like it's just crazy, Yeah.
It's very obvious to me that you're very passionate about astrology.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something that you love, a particular aspect of it, or what is it that drives that passion?
I would say I love to learn about people, and I love watching people's eyes go like, oh my gosh, like how did you know that about me? Or like, how did you know that? Or I can see death in a chart. I can see so much in a chart, but I also am very intuitive. I'm very psychic. So girlfriends say I mask it behind my astrology and the stars. Is I see things, but it's kind of like my tool guide, kind of like people do tarot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Astrology is kind of like my tool guide to know their past life, who they are, what happened to them as a child. It's all like my tool guide that I use to help me, and also to help heal people as well.
It's just so cool, because I know I shared with you the astrological reading that I had was a Kabbalistic one. And that comes from the moon cycle rather than the sun cycle. And when I shared it's all about tikkun. It's the lesson that you came here to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And when you saw that, and the two for you and your daughter that I gave you, and you said those are the nodes. I don't
North
know.
node.
Yeah. So can you tell me something about that? Because I thought the way it connected was quite fascinating.
Yeah. So the North Node is actually the direction you're supposed to go in this life. So mine's in Cancer in the 3rd house. And so I'm supposed to be speaking more. And I'm also supposed to be home more. Okay. In my past life, I was probably more of a teacher, and I probably taught all the time. I probably taught and traveled constantly. And so in this life, I'm supposed to be home with my kids and supposed to be a speaker, but staying at home. I'm supposed to be like Susie Homemaker. And my past life, I was like a big business person, and I was always working all the time. Yeah.
Really cool. Because I talk to people's spirits when I'm working, so I get the whole picture of their patterns in their life and their health and their relationship patterns. And when I go in and I look at, well, this is your past life, what you were learning, and this is what you're learning in this life. And it's the Kabbalistic astrology that I'm using for that. It's everything fits together perfectly. It just it does. There are no coincidences. Everything happens perfectly for a beautiful and divine reason.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%.
So what do you see in your future? Are you pursuing the same path? Are you going to move in a different direction? What are your thoughts?
I'm actually in the middle of writing a book about my story, and it's
Oh, good.
basically
I'm waiting for your book.
yeah, it's basically called Be You, and that's
Oh,
what, I don't know if that's going to be the actual title, but that's the title right now. It's basically just not being afraid to be you, being authentic. And a lot of 2020 showed a lot of people their shadows. And your shadow side is the side that you hide from the world, right? That you don't want anyone to see. Okay. And I remember when I used to walk with a limp, I didn't want to go back to school because I didn't want anyone to see that I walked with a limp. But I just became unafraid of showing people who I am, unafraid of saying like, this is who I am. This is, what I do. But I also believe, Allie, is like God and the divine never lets me get away with anything, like anything, like at all. They're like, you experienced heaven, like you're not allowed to get away with anything. I remember the first time I cheated in high school, it's like I got caught, and it was like everyone's cheating, like why can't I cheat? It's like I got caught. And then I remember, the first time I had sex, I got pregnant. Like the very first time I had sex, I got pregnant, and I was like, are you kidding me? It was just like, oh my gosh. It's just everything in my life has to be so consistent and not even say by the book. It's like I almost have like another, I don't want to say, I just have a different perspective on life from others. Like when you glimpse of heaven, it's like you come back and they're like, you already like know what it's like, where you're going, and so they really like have kept me like, you need to stay like in line. And when I don't, it's like all exposed, it's like we're exposing it. Like, here it is.
that's really, I mean, I've never known anybody who described what you just did. Do you ever feel like you were chosen? Because I mean, not everybody falls out of a third story window and has what
I mean, all honesty, Annie or Allie, it's literally, I mean, I was like, I don't know if you can see, but I was born, my heart wasn't beating. I had spinal meningitis when I was 18 months old. My ears, my eyes like were bleeding. I almost died. When I was 5, I got ran over by a car, like a car rolled over me. When I was 16, I rolled my car off an embankment. Like it's just I have serious angels like around me, like, always looking out for me. Yeah. So in a way I do feel like I'm chosen because I don't think a lot of people go through a lot of the stuff I've been through.
I don't think so. Not that much.
And I'm only like 38, like I haven't even experienced the other half of my life,
I've been through things when I would go to the doctor and the doctor would say, 1/2% of people this happens to, and it would happen to me.
Oh, exactly. Like, it's like when COVID hit, they're like, oh, not everyone gets COVID. I got COVID. I was in the hospital with COVID. I was sick for 2 weeks. All my kids were around me. Everyone was around me. No one got sick but me. Only me.
The way I see you is you're this beautiful gift to the world. And I'm grateful. I found you on Instagram because
I know.
You're helping so many people, and you have this wisdom that nobody else could have because of where you've been and what you grow through and probably continue to grow through.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think it's through our growth and our lessons that we really help others. It's like when I had my daughter Scarlett, and I remember being pregnant, and I'm like, do I have her or do I not have her? Do I have her or do I not have her? And it was like, I had to have her. She's just such a blessing in my life. But to think I could have had an abortion, I, could have walked that path. I mean, I had a best friend. We got pregnant at the exact same time. We were like 10 days apart, and she had an abortion. Because her boyfriend of 10 years got her pregnant, and she didn't want to be pregnant. But here I am, a guy I don't even like. I actually now we're better now, but it's like I had to go through that lesson of court and realizing like the whole process. But like I had her, I've had so many life lessons. Like I could talk and talk and talk about like my life lessons.
I'm seeing that. Well, I'm very anxious for your book to come out because I think it's going to make such a huge, huge difference. And I'm so grateful to have you here. And I look forward to very many people finding you. So I have a question. When people are looking for you, what do they come to you with? Specific questions, with specific problems? What are they seeking from you?
Maybe like natal chart readings, like they want to know about who they are, or synastry readings, they want to know a chart comparison. My favorite, which I kind of sometimes throw in there when I do natal chart readings, is to work with parents to know their child's Chiron, to know their child's pain and their lessons of why they came on this planet. Because so that they're constantly not triggering that pain all the time in their child, but kind of working through that pain with them, you know, because the pain will never go away. You'll always experience that pain, but how can I love my child through that pain so they don't really feel that? So I'll give you an example. My daughter's Chiron is in her 4th house, which is about family and home, right? So for her, she feels like we moved a lot when she was really young. And so I try to stay home with her as much as I can rather than going out and doing things when I have her now, because, you know, I share custody. So I really try to like lay in bed with her, read to her, because 4th house is all about nurturing, mother, Cancer, like the home. And so I try not to feed into that Chiron pain, because then she starts acting out. And I know when she starts acting out that she needs me to kind of like come in and nurture her. Yeah.
That's such an incredible gift. And I hope lots of parents learn about this, because to be able to see their child differently instead of being angry with them, it's completely different tools from the way I raised my kids. And it's a really beautiful gift. So how do people find you to get to work with you?
Right now, I have my Instagram. It's Missy's Astrology. So if you do Missy's MISSYS_astrology, you can find me. And then also I'm working on my website, and that will be missysastrology.com.
Okay, and I will have the link for people to read in the show notes. And I thank you so much. I thank you for the work that you do, for sharing yourself, and for making such an important, loving difference in the world.
Oh, thank you. And I thank you so much too, Allie. Like, this has been amazing. You know, you've been such a blessing as a friend, and hopefully both of us can make a huge impact on the world and just help people, you know, you as well.
Thanks.
You've been listening to a talk on the wilder side. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Get Metaphysical. Be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss a single episode, and while you're at it, please leave a rating and review, and be sure to share it with your friends. Tune in every Monday for more exciting insights and wisdom on life beyond your 5 senses. Until next time, take a small step in a new direction. Start now.